welcome back to episode 386 of the Purple Rain podcast, the Nick Boyle, Todd Heap, Billy Benjamin episode of the Purple Rain podcast, and the free agency frenzy edition of the Purple Rain podcast. A whole lot of news to talk about. You can see it's not just me and Sutton today. We also have Kevin here from Locked On Ravens. So it's all three of us. It's just so much information. Three people have to talk about it. But first off, you can follow us here on Instagram at the Purple Rain podcast. That guy over there on Instagram and on Twitter at Sutton Def. And yeah, welcome back to the Purple Rain podcast. A lot to talk about. A lot of Ravens lost today, one gain. But how are we feeling overall? I know we lost a lot of guys. Kind of a sad time of the year. You know, I was reflecting on some of the guys we lost. I'm like, damn, we had a lot of good memories with these guys. But how are we doing overall? We good? We a little sad?
Yeah, Kevin, we'll toss that one to you, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's. I've been on here a few times now, and honestly, one of my favorite things is simply reading off the names of all the numbers and taking me back through Ravens nostalgia. And that was a lot of tight ends, and that's kind of the topic of the day with all these tight ends leaving and Mark Andrews being the sole guy there. Definitely feeling a little bummed about it. I mean, not that some of these moves weren't expected. I mean, we've all pretty much known Likely was going to leave for months, but I was still holding on to that hope for Linderbaum that maybe he would just come back for less money. I knew the Ravens, if he hit the market, I essentially said he was as good as gone, but maybe he just saw everything else out there and was like, nah, Baltimore is the place for me. But of course, when you get offered $27 million a season and just kind of you blow the water out of the market there, I don't blame him, but at the same time, it definitely still hurts. And yeah, there are a lot of moves that, we're going to get into here today, but, with the only signing being John Simpson today and all the losses that have come in, at least so far as we're recording here, I think that has kind of, soured some people. I don't think this guy's falling. I don't think the season's over. I don't think the Ravens aren't contenders anymore. There's still a long way to go. But this all happened in like an hour or two. And all of it happening so quickly together, I think kind of got everybody up in arms a little bit. But hey, we have to remember the Ravens did get Max Crosby, and that's kind of what's keeping me afloat right now.
Yeah, that's a fact. And like getting Max Crosby, you're going to have to eventually pay the price for that, because now you have to be ready to, pay him that guaranteed money that becomes guaranteed, I think, sometime in March, right? And, with the biggest dominoes still yet to fall, and of course, the Lamar Jackson contract situation, which I think it's kind of a general consensus now. They probably have already maybe gotten something done, maybe behind the scenes, because why else are you going out and making, huge swings, like giving up 2 first-round picks for a Max Crosby who, is going to be owed a lot of money. So we think that they may have figured something out. But overall, man, I kind of share the same sentiment. Like this, it is going to suck to see some of these guys go. Charlie Kolar is one for me. I mean, I've never really been the biggest fan of him, admittedly, but like just kind of like the personality is something that I'm going to miss. On the Ravens Wired and stuff like that, that's going to suck. But I do think that the Ravens probably did make the right decision. But you know what, Alex? I think it's time for us to go ahead and actually, since we're already diving in to, all these acquisitions and departures and things like that, let's go ahead and transition over to our media screen here. And real quick, we did have a super chat donation from Pick Six Flipper. Says, yo, which one hurt the most, fellas? I mean, for me, I'm going to definitely have to say, let me see. Oh, did we lose Kevin and Alex? Crap. Let's get them back in here. There we go. For me, I'm going to have to say, and we're into it, I'm going to have to say Keaton Mitchell. That one hurt the most for me. He's not like officially gone yet, but it might be coming. But let's start with the biggest one, though. Let's start with the biggest one, fellas. And thank you so much, Pick Six, for the super chat donation. The big one today was obviously Tyler Linderbaum. And this one, kind of expected over the course of the last couple of weeks, really. But just making it true, and official today. You see the tweet here from Ari Myrov says, the Raiders are signing former Ravens 3-time Pro Bowl center Tyler Linderbaum, and they're making him the highest paid center in NFL history. Lindy is getting a 3-year, $81 million deal to join the Las Vegas Raiders. And man, I mean, like you mentioned before, Kevin, $27 million per year. I don't think that the Ravens were ever going to get to that with Tyler Linderbaum. But I'll toss it to you first, Kevin. When you got this news, when it first came across, like, how did it hit you? And how does it make you feel overall for Tyler Linderbaum and his future with the Raiders? Because some people are saying, like, yeah, you got the bag, right? But are you going to be winning over there? Like, what do you think overall about this?
Yeah, what I usually say, and I've said this for years on Locked On Ravens, is I'm never going to blame a player for choosing what they want and valuing what they want in free agency, whether that's money, championship aspirations, personal stats. Like everybody values something differently. And for Linderbaum, I was not surprised because my whole mindset the whole time was the Ravens needed to get this done before today to have a chance of keeping him. I thought that once he ended up, not being a guy who was signing before today, that's when it all kind of went off the rails to me. And I was like, look, at this point, you're going to have to pony up a lot of money. And, we've heard some of the reports that have come out, just Rebeck mentioning that him asking around the Ravens max offer, according to him, was at 4 years, $88 million. So coming in at $22 million per season, which is a very hefty number. That is $4 million more than Creed Humphrey. And I guess you can't blame him for trying, but again, Las Vegas comes in with the Godfather offer here, and so I was shocked to see the number itself, like 27. I thought that and all the reports we were hearing was it was going to be 25, like he could get up to $25 million. That could be the one, and then he gets 27. And I was like, okay, man, maybe if the Ravens were offering that 22, and the Raiders came to Linderbaum and said, hey, here's 25. Maybe he still would have chosen Baltimore to say, hey, $3 million per season, that's great. But, maybe the situation, I want to stay in Baltimore, try to win. But maybe that extra $2 million per season, if that's how the negotiations went, maybe that's what ended up pushing him over. So it doesn't take away the fact they're losing a really good player. Obviously, he's not perfect. We saw some of the pass protection numbers. But again, we also know who he was playing next to this past season. So there's always context to it. But at the end of the day, I think that Linderbaum is somebody that is a heck of a player, but there has to be a cap on everybody. And for me, this went a little bit above what I think the Ravens should have paid for Linderbaum. But again, now you need to pivot, and there are centers flying off the board right now. So you're going to have to try to find someone that it's the 80-20 rule, 80% of the production for 20% of the price, and hopefully spend some money elsewhere to round out your roster.
Yeah, Alex.
I was definitely shocked by it. I saw the number and I'm like 27 per year average, and we were never going to hit that. The fact we went to 22, I think that was me and Sutton's cap, like the max we would do. I think last week when we talked about it, we mentioned, I'm like, I'll go 21, and somebody mentioned 22. I'm like, you know what? I'd be willing to go as high as 22. So the fact we did that, but I just want to give a round of applause to his agent, because his agent just set him up for just not just this year, but he's going to be 28 when he's a free agent again. Like arguably the prime of his career. So if he's getting 81 million now for 3 years, imagine what he'll get then. And I think, for the Raiders, obviously they can spend this money. Mendoza on a rookie contract. I think he'll probably go to a contender after his 3 years here. He'll get paid. He'll go somewhere else, probably chase a ring. But that's just crazy money. We were never going to keep him. And I just hope we had a backup plan. And right now, it doesn't look like we have a backup plan. But obviously, EDC, hopefully he's doing his background work. I saw the Packers release their center. And obviously, center's been flying off the board. But it just was never going to happen. You can see it here. The max was 4 years, 88 mil for the Ravens. Linderbaum got 3 years, 81. So I'm not going to get mad at him for taking that. That sets him up so much better than the other, and of just another year younger when he hits free agency again. So good for him. Thank you for it all, and we'll take that, I guess, third round comp pick for him. But best luck in Vegas in that new tenure, and hopefully you can get some wins there. But it's going to be definitely a process there in Vegas.
Yeah, for sure. And like you mentioned, you have to kind of tip your cap to his agent, because they stood very, very firm and what they wanted. They stood on business, as the kids would say, and they ended up hitting a really, really sweet and lucrative deal for Tyler Linderbaum. Like Kevin said before, we always want to err on the side of guys getting their bag, getting their just due, because Tyler Linderbaum, for some of the faults that he did have last, like you said, in protection, Kevin, he was still by and large like a top two and sometimes not two center over the last couple of years, right? But it is crazy. I mean, again, this is one of those things where like I low key feel like because he reset the market by a lot, right? And I just don't know if that's going to be like kind of like the standard going forward. Is that going to be like the precedent that people are kind of like deferring to when it comes to paying centers? Because I think he outgains Creed Humphrey now by like 9 million or
Yes.
something like that. It's a lot. It's a lot of freaking money. That's a wide margin. So we'll see what ends up happening there, how that shifts the market the next time a center is up to get paid. But overall, man, like you mentioned, Alex, you got to tip your cap to his agent, man. Great freaking negotiating. You got the bag. Sure.
Yeah.
We see here with the super chat donations, Mad Ross, it says today's a good day. None of these players hurt. I mean, yeah, you can make an argument. You can definitely make an argument, but for one specifically that I think definitely does hurt, and we'll get into this. DWAS with another super chat donation. Appreciate you, DWAS, dropping the 2-piece in the chat. Says, who's playing O-line this year? Well, I mean, as it stands right now, I guess we might as well just go ahead and into the next move here. So while the Ravens did lose a Tyler Linderbaum today to the Las Vegas Raiders, they did happen to acquire John Simpson. John Simpson was signed today by the Ravens, $30 million deal. A big-time O-lineman returns to Baltimore on a deal done by Kyle Strongen of Rain Sports RMP, whatever group that is that John Simpson works with. But yeah, I'd assume that he's probably going to go in and at the very, very least, either start or have a competition straight up with Andrew Voorhees for that left guard spot. So I would say, Stanley, probably Simpson at center now. I mean, I would think that we're going to draft one. I would say, if I'm just kind of getting ahead of myself here. Right guard, maybe Emory Jones. Who knows? I don't know. And then right tackle and guard, of course. I think it's been O-line D-Watch. But we got to see, man. I don't think that the moves are anywhere near over in terms of free agency for these Ravens. But sticking on John Simpson, guys, and Kevin, here's where I'll toss it to you. When you found out that the Ravens were not only getting rid of Linderbaum, but then actually going out and signing an old friend in John Simpson, who, quite frankly, when he was with the Ravens before, he was like serviceable and obviously, honestly, more than serviceable at times as well, minus the penalties, something that we all know he's got to cut down on and stuff like that. But, I think that he's an upgrade over what we've had. What say you?
Yeah, definitely an upgrade over a Voorhees or a Falele. I'm wondering how much. I was a little surprised he got as much as he did, but the market today has been crazy in terms of some of the money these guys are getting. So I think everybody probably got a bump up in terms of what contracts they're getting. I thought it was okay. I didn't think it was the best move in the world. Didn't think it was the worst move in the world. I mean, he wasn't on my bingo card. I was going more for the older guys, like, not that Simpson's like super young or anything, but I was going more for like Zeitler or Wyatt Teller maybe, or Joel Bitonio, depending on what position they were looking at. Because I think one of the things that came out of the Ravens' experimentation with Emory Jones is that they could probably play him at either left guard or right guard. So you had some flexibility as to which you wanted to attack. I always thought it was going to be one vet, and then maybe they draft somebody and kind of let it all play out. So, you're giving John Simpson $10 million a season. He's probably going to be your guy right at that left guard spot. So the penalties, like you mentioned, have been a problem. And, someone that, as the guards began to come off the board, and Simpson was honestly one of the first. We saw like David Edwards go to New Orleans and a couple other guys sign here or there. I'm curious about the long-term plan. Obviously Simpson's not a long-term answer there. He's more so a stopgap type of option. Again, the Ravens' only surefire long-term guy right now is Roger Rosengard, and you're going to have to see who Emory Jones is, see if it's Corey Bullock, who he is. I'm curious to see if they maybe go on the trade market to try to find a guy. You mentioned Elgton Jenkins is now a free agent from the Packers, and that feels like right up Eric DeCosta's alley with the comp pick situation and the fact that he still, I think, has some stuff left in the tank. But I thought the Simpson signing was okay. It didn't necessarily blow me away and, this is a great move, but it's not the worst move in the world either.
Go ahead, Sutton. You got something to say?
Oh, no. Go ahead, Alex.
Okay.
Take it away.
It felt like a damn signing. Like, here's your lineman you wanted. Like, they have them. You complained all off season. It definitely, it's not the worst. I think it was inflated. I was definitely leaning more towards a Zeitler. I just think PFF wise, I do trust them for the O-line rankings. I think he was ranked much higher. What was it? Simpson was 42 and Falele was 43 last year. But at the same time, I sat back. I want to believe Dwayne Ledford sees something in Simpson that he thinks he can coach out of him, i.e. the penalties, and maybe just get that out of him, maybe have a damn good lineman there. But I still want more. I would love another vet. I would love for guys to fight for their positions. I don't want to go into the year with an undrafted rookie at center. We've seen how that happens before. Makari, obviously, he was very serviceable, but snaps over the head, Skura, he had his troubles. I want to have somebody who I think maybe like a round 3 center or a proven center. Maybe you can get somebody behind them. But I want to invest in this O-line first off. I do want another signing and then definitely some higher draft capital into it. But I hope it works. But in Ledford, we trust, I guess. I mean, this guy had 11 penalties altogether with his line last year in Atlanta. So he must know a thing or two about it. So I'm just going to put my trust into him.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's actually I did not know that. He only had 11 penalties altogether last season with his line.
Yes.
That's a pool rate. I mean, yeah, I mean, you talk about what he could potentially bring to this line here, no matter where he plays at, at guard, left or right. I think that the biggest thing for me, guys, is that he's a mauler, right? That's what I remember most about him from days in more, a couple of years ago. He was mean, he was nasty up front. Yeah, you get the penalties, you got to take the good with the bad sometimes with him, sure, but I think that we need to get back to that ability. Right, our offensive line was super soft, like soft as like baby tissue, this past season. Right, they were getting pushed around, slapped around. You know what I mean? Like it's just I like seeing. I mean, yes, I do think that it was a slight overpay for sure, but I do like kind of getting this energy back in the locker room, and that kind of like matches up with going out and getting a Max Crosby as well. We talked about that on Friday night, Alex. Like you're also getting another dog. You're getting a dog back. So I think we need it for the identity of the team. Do I think it was a little bit of an overpay for sure? But no, like I said last time he was with the Ravens, he was more than serviceable on many different occasions. He just got to get those penalties down, which Blood will help with. Take a quick break here. We do got a couple super chat donations. This one's coming from Asmodeus. Appreciate you, Asmodeus, dropping the 5-piece in the chat, making it rain here on the Purple Rain podcast. By the way, shout out to our special guest here today, Kevin Ostrager from Locked On Ravens. Shout out to him. Does great work in the Ravens content creator community. So make sure you guys go and check out Locked On Ravens. They've got daily Ravens content coming out for you. It's amazing what they're able to do over there on that channel. So make sure you like and subscribe to their stuff too. And as Modia says here, I remember a lot of holdings and false starts with Simpson. Doesn't move the needle for me. We need at least 3 O-line in the draft plus a vet. And that kind of goes to what Alex was saying. Like he wants another signing, right? And I totally agree with you there. Whether it's another guard, whether it's a center, go out and get somebody, and then spend draft capital, maybe a second or a third round pick on whatever is the missing piece from there. So I totally agree, Asmodeus, and thank you so much for your super chat donation. We have another here from Mad Rasta, dropping a 2-piece, says after Mac trade, I'm trusting EDC. Simpson backup. I don't know about backup, but
30 mil as a backup.
You're paying him to start probably. I mean,
yeah,
putting 10 mil on a bench. I mean, unless it goes crazy bad, but that's something that again John Harbaugh wouldn't do. I mean, we saw how bad it was with Falele and just the refusal to put him on the bench. I mean, I'm hoping that Jesse Minter can find a way to, if something's not going, and I'm not talking Simpson, I'm just talking in general. Like if something goes bad and something's not working, having more of a quick reaction to get that going. So yeah, I mean, look, the Simpson signing is not a bad one. I do not think it's a bad signing. I just think it's like a fine signing. It's like, okay, cool. He was serviceable for you. He went to the Jets, was playing on a poor team, comes back, and he was very well liked in Baltimore, by the way. Like in the locker room, he was well liked, and you're right, like plays with that mean streak. So I'm excited to have him back. I think one more signing, is probably the best case scenario, and then I'm feeling a lot more confident because you already have a couple guys on the roster that you can go with there. But at the same time, I mean, it's at least familiarity with Lamar. And Stanley and Simpson played together, so there's familiarity there as well. And he was on his last legs when he signed with Baltimore. It was like a reserve future thing. He was trying to find his footing. And the production he gave the Ravens based off his expectation was through the roof. He wasn't a perfect player, but he gave the Ravens so much more than anybody was expecting. He got a bag with New York, now back to Baltimore. So pretty cool story, honestly.
Yeah. Totally. Alex, you got something for me?
I had something, I forgot it. Oh, speaking of last year, it's funny, number 77 still out there. I mean, nobody's touched him yet. He's still a free agent. I thought maybe Harbs, he rode by his guy last year and he's still out there. I'm like, come on. You rode by Zach or you didn't pick him up, didn't pick up Falele. What's going on? I thought friends have each other's backs.
Yeah, he definitely picked up somebody else, though, and I didn't like it. Not one little bit. And we're going to get to here in just a second. We do have another super chat donation from Dre. Appreciate you, Dre, dropping the 5-piece in the chat. Dre says, "What's up, Purple Rain gang? I cannot blame EDC at all. We offered, I guess you're talking about Linderbaum here. Yeah, $22 million a year. SMH Linderbaum ain't worth 7M. That kind of, I'm not gonna say he's not worth him. He's one of the best centers in the league, but kind of goes back to my point earlier. Like, is this going to be like the starting point for negotiating with top end centers now? It's a 27 mil a year, because that's a lot of money for a center. But I do all understand that the NFL cap is going higher and higher and higher every single year as the league, balloons and profits and things like that. So I guess centers got to get their bigger piece of the pie too, right? They got to eat too. So, maybe Tyler Linderbaum got to suit his agent, because he definitely he made a landmark deal, making that $27 million for Tyler Linderbaum, who, again, like Alex said, striking the iron when it's hot. He's going to be scheduled to be a free agent at 28 and going to be up on all of that money on a fresh contract. Oh my goodness, I can only imagine. He's doing it right. He's doing the right thing. And it sucks to see him go because of, like you guys mentioned, the continuity with Lamar, but it costs to be the boss, man. That's all I can really say, man. You get a Max Crosby, you got to start making some room. You got to start making some room, cap space wise. But yeah, thank you so much, Dre. We appreciate that.
Real quick, here's Linderbaum's deal. They broke it down. It's a $20 million signing bonus. It's a 10-year salary this year, which is fully guaranteed. $30 million fully guaranteed salary next year, and 2028, $21 million. I can say an injury guarantee contract. So basically, next March it becomes fully guaranteed. So this is crazy. He'll be making all 81 million of it. So good on him. His agent, kudos. Take him out to a nice steak dinner, and he will make you a lot more money in 3 years.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and move on here from John Simpson being signed with the Ravens. Let's get into another departure. Unfortunately, it's like the roller coaster of this episode that has mostly downs, right? Here's Isaiah Likely. Isaiah Likely is no longer a Raven. Again, this is one that we also kind of expected, but to see that it's official now, it definitely hits me hard. Me personally, Isaiah Likely has always been my guy. But as you guys can read here, the Giants are signing former Ravens tight end Isaiah Likely to a 3-year, $40 million contract. Very, very interesting on the contract, by the way, with upsides of $47.5 million per multiple sources. The deal likely the third highest paid tight end in the NFL, and pairs him with Jackson Dart and Malik Neighbors as a dangerous offense in New York. So, I mean, I think that this is every bit of like a fun adventure, plus you're getting a bag sort of like thing for Isaiah Likely, because he's going to fit in perfectly with Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterboo, Malik Neighbors. He's going to fit in perfectly with those boys. He's already got, the familiarity of John Harbaugh, the fresh new coach there. So I think he's going to have himself a lot of fun in New York. And I applaud Isaiah Likely for getting what he wanted here. Again, if I'm going to be sticking with the whole, player empowerment thing, I got to say the same thing. Practice where it's like a little bit weird here, isn't it, guys? And Kevin, here's where I want to toss it to you. I mean, he's getting 3 years, $40 million from the Giants when Andrews got 3 years, $39 million. So it's like, what do you think kind of happened there, and what's your knee-jerk reaction, same day to this deal happening?
Yeah, well, I got a lot of comments because I unintentionally predicted this 2 months ago with a joke tweet that blew up twice now. And I had said, oh, look, John Harbaugh convincing the Ravens to sign Mark Andrews so he can sign like with the Giants, completely in jest, had no inside information on it. And then it happened. And I'm like, oh, I wasn't actually serious, but here we are. And it makes sense. Obviously, they lost Daniel Bellinger to Tennessee. Theo Johnson is an okay. I think he's okay. I think he's pretty good. But Isaiah Likely just gives them a much more dynamic player there. The thing with the Baltimore Andrews and Likely situation is that there have been a lot of different reports that have come out over the course of the last, I guess, couple months, really since the offseason, when it was reported that the Ravens and Likely were trying to do something. There was something that was maybe close and then never really materialized. Likely got injured. And then that probably just messed everything up for him. I'm not sure what he was asking for then. And maybe it was more than the Andrews deal, this 3 years, $40 million. And now it can go up a little bit higher than that. I think it's 47.5 it can go up to in total. And that's, I don't know if they've broken that one down, but I'm sure it's just incentives or playtime or whatnot. But if it was the same, then it was a mistake. But if Likely was asking for more at the time, maybe he was asking for the 15 mil outright, maybe 16 out, or whatever it was. And the Ravens said, we don't want to do that. And Likely was firm. They go to Andrews, who they got at the 13. That gives it a little more context. But yes, just looking at it straight up and seeing that Likely got, what, $700,000 more than Andrews just at the base level, considering Likely was the guy that I wanted to keep. I mean, if you had told me that Andrews was the guy they were keeping out of the three of those guys before the season started, I would have said, okay, funny joke. Let's get serious now. But now it's the reality, and now they have a situation where it's both Likely and Kolar. You're probably going to have to sign a vet, draft a guy. Maybe you draft two guys because they've had success doing it. But I think that Isaiah is going to have a lot of success in New York with John Harbaugh, especially with the year two Jackson Dart, giving him a security blanket weapon and somebody that, I think can really flourish within the framework of that offense.
Yeah, I agree there. I definitely was expecting this one. Funny how the figures worked out.
Alex.
I think he'll just fit in perfectly in New York with them. Dart, Scatterbo, I think they might, draft another running back. Likely, Neighbors. It just is a great fit for him. He'll get the tight end one volume. He'll definitely be one over Theo Johnson. Good on him. I'm happy for him. Now, it's just going to be, for me, he was a playoff riser, and that's kind of what hurts the most out of this. I think why I'm definitely a little bit more sad about this is when he was called upon, he stepped up. I mean, for Pete's sake, his last catch with us was on 4th and 7 to put us in field goal range. And I won't forget that. I mean, that's kind of the player he was. He was probably one of the more unlucky players, definitely with the whole stepping out of bounds, the whole catch or no catch against the Steelers. But when it was the biggest moments, we went his way. So I appreciate everything he did for us, and good on him, man. He's getting paid, and once again, he's 25 years old. So in 3 years, he'll be 28, prime of his year. He'll probably be making a lot more, I'd say, than this 40 million base right now. So best of luck to Mr. Likely.
Yeah, for sure. And a couple super chat donations here. One from Mad Ross that says Likely didn't want to be here no matter what. Man, it seemed like the relationship was a little sour, right? Maddie Boom, another super chat donation. Appreciate it. Says, what's up, guys? Very happy. The only ones that hurt me is Likely and Kolar, especially after seeing the contracts our guys signed. Simpson is big for us. Yeah, I think Simpson's underrated. We're going to get to Kolar here in a second. And Dre with another super chat donation. Appreciate you, Dre. Says Likely one hurts too. I just want to know why he turned the offer down. EDC offered. LOL. Mark has the same contract for real. Yeah, it sucks. Go ahead. My bad.
Oh, me. I mean, when he had a one chance in 23, he definitely stepped up. In the playoffs, you can definitely use that. I stepped up in the playoffs. You look at my stats in the playoffs against the guy who you just paid. I feel like I deserve more. I'm younger. Now, I think that was before the season he went down, so you could have just thrown it out the window. If that's what he was looking at in his agent. But I see why the Ravens went with Andrews. I guess, he's been here longer, but it's kind of a catch-22. I think if you keep Likely and Andrews goes elsewhere, you have people mad and vice versa. So they went with Andrews. I guess they wanted to at least have one tight end secured and hopefully try to get Likely, but it just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, and now that kind of leaves us like, okay, do the Ravens address tight end with a top 5 draft pick? A draft pick that they have? Like, I don't know. I think that they should at this point. Historically, they've been good at drafting tight ends. So I think that you could potentially see the Ravens take a tight end a lot higher than what we would have thought the Ravens would have took a tight end for just, 24 hours ago. So it's an interesting one. And again, I hate to see him go because he is a playoff rise, like you said. Again, I'm a keep saying it, man. It costs to be the boss, man. Like, you cannot have everything that you want under one roof with that salary cap, man. And then you're taking big swings, like paying Lamar Jackson a bunch of money and Max Crosby a bunch of money and still Roquan Smith a bunch of money and Marlon and all the names, right? There's going to be some casualties. And that's what we're seeing here, unfortunately. Isaiah Likely will be missed. He will be missed. All right. So let me go ahead and get through this here while we still have our guy Kevin on. Thank you so much, Kevin, for coming on again. We appreciate you, brother. We're going to keep this rolling here. Let me see. So we talk about Likely, right? Likely is gone, unfortunately. Appreciate the sub, strong heart. But also, and this one kind of surprised me, Charles Kolar is a Charger now. right? Charlie the Charger. He was signed to a 3-year, $24.3 million contract that makes him NFL's highest paid blocking tight end, right? Per Tom Pelissero here. He got seven. Oh, Alex, actually, no, Kevin, we'll toss this one to you first. Like, what did you think about when Kolar? I mean, likely is one thing, right? But Kolar, first of all, how high are you on Kolar? How high do you want to be on him? And what did you think about the Ravens not resigning him?
Yeah, it's funny. This tweet is worded very interestingly to me because they called him the NFL's highest paid blocking tight end, which again, that's what he's known for, right? But I actually think he showed a little flash in the receiving game this year as well. So I think he's a little more than just a blocking tight end. And again, in a bigger role, I think that he has the opportunity to flourish where I don't know if it was he didn't want to be put in the likely situation where it was like, okay, he wants to be a guy that has his own situation, his own type of deal. And again, in Los Angeles, it's not quite that way with Gadsden being there and the way that he was able to come on in 2025 as a rookie. But it makes sense for Los Angeles. For Baltimore, I was saying it, a lot of people were saying it that he was going to surprise people with the money that he was going to get. This wasn't just going to be, the Ravens re-signed Kolar, 2 years, $7 million. Like it wasn't going to be that type of contract. I had kind of likened it to the Josh Oliver contract that he got when he left Baltimore a couple of years ago. That was, I think it was 3 years, and I actually have it here somewhere. 3 years, $23.2 million. So Kolar gets a little bit more. It's honestly essentially the same thing, just factoring in a little bit of cap inflation on that deal. Definitely a little shocked. I didn't expect them to lose both. I knew it was a possibility, but I thought at the end of the day, we all knew Likely was going, and it was essentially going to be Andrews and Kolar or Likely, and I thought that they had chosen the Andrews and Kolar route. I guess they just chose the Andrews route. But again, if there's a position I feel Baltimore is good at drafting, and I feel confident in them drafting in the mid rounds, it is that tight end spot. That's where they got both Likely and Kolar. It's where they got guys like Dennis Pitta and Ed Dixon and Mark Andrews, et cetera, et cetera. So I feel okay with that. The problem though, and this is a conversation with Jordan Stout as well, who I know we're probably going to get to in a few minutes, but it's about the experience and with where the Ravens are right now and the fact that it took Likely and Kolar a little bit to get to where they are today. It took Jordan Stout a little bit to get to where he is today. And, if you're essentially restarting there with rookies or you're bringing in a guy with less experience, it's not that they can't be great players because we saw the evolution of these guys and we see it all the time. But where are they in accordance to where the Ravens need them to be right now? Or is it more of a long-term option? I thought bringing back Kolar would have given you a nice in-between of I think he still has a lot of room to grow in a bigger role, which the Ravens could offer him without Likely. And he has the experience and familiarity and everything to still be a contributor, in year 5 in that offense. So definitely tough. Wasn't expecting for the Ravens to lose them both, but I guess here we are.
Yeah, I think Kolar is probably maybe the harder of the two to replicate. I think just with his blocking, I thought he would get maybe like a Nick Boyle type contract. I think he got 2 years, 13, back then, so maybe a little bit more inflated from that. And even then, that was surprising then because Nick Boyle never really produced. I think it took him to year 5 or 6 to catch his first receiving touchdown, which was crazy. But I'm glad he went on there. So it'll be him and Gaston in that Mike McDaniel offense. So we'll see how he does over there. And I just kind of took a look at the remaining tight end free agents. Njoku, I see, is out there. Zach Ertz, I don't really think we're going to go after. Jonnu Smith, Will Disley, and then I think Chico Conquo is definitely somebody who intrigues me. Went to Maryland, but it's just, I guess the price is right. But 3 years, 24, and for a blocking tight end is a lot of money. It just, we were never going to go to that. Never going to give that much money for a blocking tight end. So best luck, Charlie. You can go and walk barefoot there in LA. Go and do the cornrows over there, I guess, if they let you. But thank you for the blocking. Thank you for the memes, and yeah, thank you.
The cornrows. No, man, I think they'll like him. I think they'll like him in LA, man. He kind of fits that vibe, kind of like that go with the flow, just a dude. Yeah, I think it fits. I think they'll like him, or the people who, at least the ones who show up to the game, right? Anyways, we do have another super chat donation. This one's coming from PB3. Says 27 million good the wins. Again, talking about that Linderbaum deal that came down earlier today. Yeah, man, it's a lot of money. It's a ton of money. Don't know if that's going to be the precedent going forward, like I've said. But thank you so much, PB, for the super chat donation there. But yeah, yeah, got Charlie Kolar, and then of course Isaiah Likely, both departing, does absolutely and just so abruptly, might I add, just create a brand new whole a huge void on this Ravens team. Now, all of a sudden you're turning to the draft and maybe trying to trust a rookie. And, even to Kevin's point, whoever the Ravens do end up drafting excuse me, with the second, third, fourth, fifth round picks, those guys are going to take a little bit of time to develop. And the Ravens have really a 2-year window, I would say, to go out and win a Super Bowl. That's when it's going to be at its widest. So you need guys who can come in and impact the game right now. And looking at some of those free agents, I personally wouldn't be mad at a David and Joe. I really wouldn't. You know what I mean? You get some experience, pass catchers who go out there and make plays with hands, physically dominant as well. I wouldn't be mad at that, but hey, man, at this point, again, I do kind of have to put my trust in EDC, because what I will say is that it seems like, I think a lot of what's happening right now is very uncomfortable for Ravens fans, because we haven't really had to go through kind of a full reset and full purge like this in years, right? I mean, we're talking about a team who has got a brand new coaching staff, right? They did something that they've never done before in giving away 2 first-round picks for a star edge rusher, clearly making big swings and making big changes and things like that. So I can't be mad at it. I can't be mad at it, and I know that they're not done yet. So this is going to be definitely a bad loss, Likely and Kolar, but I got to deal with it.
I know we're looking at the same thing, Alex.
Yep. The Giants are expected to sign former Ravens cornerback Ardarius Washington to a 1-year deal.
Did they call him a corner?
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Corner.
All right. Well, I mean, another. And I think we kind of expected this one too, although I didn't want it to happen. I mean, Ardarius Washington is a guy who, you talk about a guy who is like a Raven. For his size, he plays like a damn Raven, man. And, shout out to him. But it's crazy that all these players, you said the Giants, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness, man. Harbs knows what he's doing, man. He knows what he's doing. He's been an op the whole time, man. The whole time. Cool, man. Appreciate the $2 super chat donation. Says Rico Dowdle will be a good pickup. Alex, what are your thoughts about that?
I mean, I guess we can talk about running backs now if we want to move on. The Ravens did not tender Keaton Mitchell, so now he'll be a free agent. I think this is the one what kind of sent my head on Mars, because I just wasn't expecting it. And I'm not going to sit here and kind of sit here. I think Ravens fans overrated him, because we didn't. He had 5.8 yards per carry last year behind that line. Not Derrick Henry, who put up good numbers. This is Keaton Mitchell, a guy who was coming off of ACL, MCL, PCL, everything. Torn in his knee, worked his butt to get back. I think looked pretty good. He wasn't put in the best situations at times, but I feel like he produced, and he was looking better and better as the games went on. And to do this kind of doesn't make sense to me. I don't think he would have cost a lot of money. Justice Hill obviously is kept for the pass blocking. You have Rasheen Ali, but this to me just had my head scratched. And I think there's the best of his play is still yet to come. I just don't get this one. Not yet, at least. Maybe they have something else planned, but I'm confused.
Yeah. I mean, the tender was 3.5 for original round, and I just don't feel like that's that much especially for a player like Keaton, who we've seen in opportunities goes out there and performs. Obviously, he's a speedster, but brings a lot more to the table than that. And I saw Jeremy Fowler say, "Oh, watch out for the Giants," and I'm like, "Yeah, that'd be funny considering how John Harbaugh used them last season and didn't play them for the first half of the season." So I don't know what that relationship is like, but I guess we'll see how that unfolds. But yeah, I mean, I don't know whether it was just because they didn't want to pay the money. I don't know if it was because they value Justice Hill more in terms of pass protection on third down. I don't know. What I do know is Keaton's a great player, and I thought he was a very nice compliment with Derrick Henry. I thought all three of them, the Hill, Mitchell, Henry combination was a really nice three-headed monster they could use in a lot of different ways. But, I guess they must have just thought it was too expensive. And there's always the reality that with a new staff that comes in, there are going to be guys that are guys who the old staff likes, and there are going to be guys that the new staff just doesn't want on the team. And this might be just a situation like that where Declan Doyle and Jesse Minter don't feel like Keaton fits the vision of the offense, which I personally don't really understand, but I also am not the head coach or offensive coordinator of an NFL team. So I guess what do I know? We'll just have to, I guess see what happens. But yeah, it was shocking to me that happened. I always just kind of assumed that Keaton was going to stay and they were going to tender him and that was going to be that. But yeah, I mean, it's looking like it's going to be another option for Keaton, which it'll be tough to see him in another uniform because he was my guy coming out of that draft class. And every mock I did, I sneaked him into the 6th or 7th round for Baltimore. And I'm bummed it looks like he's leaving.
Yeah, man. I mean, for me with Keaton Mitchell, I think when you're looking at how Declan Doyle might be looking at it, knowing how and data driven, a guy like that is, I think that he's probably looking at Keaton Mitchell like, hey, listen, man, like you're a great player. We just don't have the opportunity here. Like in terms of like percentage of plays that can actually get you involved, it just does not make sense to keep you around when we have literally, I mean, we didn't draft you, right? We didn't, I mean, Declan Doyle, he was not on the staff when Keaton Mitchell was drafted, right? A lot of these guys, Charlie Kolar, I mean, he doesn't have any sort of like connection to those guys. That's why you see some of them going to the Giants as well. It's kind of crazy that that's happening. But I think they're just kind of like shedding some of the fat on the roster. Like you mentioned, like these aren't their hires. Like it's one of those things where I get it from an analytical standpoint because again, he was getting maybe what 3-4 touches a game. It's just not enough to make the juice worth the squeeze to I guess to Declan Doyle and company there, Eric DeCosta, all those guys in Baltimore. So it's definitely going to suck to see him go. But my my guy Alex seemed a little bit more upset about it than me. I just because I mean we were talking before the stream, right? And I was bigging him up too. I was like, like just his speed and again his ability to get the edge and things like that. That's something that can work in this offense. But Alex, anything else from me on Keaton?
I mean, they managed to use a speedster in the Bears offense with Luther Bird and I get his receiver. I feel like you could do something with Keaton's speed as well. You definitely could find touches for him. And somebody mentioned Rico Dowdle. He just went to the Steelers.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, wow. So whoever wanted the Ravens get Rico Dowdle, yeah, he went to the Steelers. So.
We just have to stop manifesting, and one of these, everything we manifest, man. It's
end it, man.
It's crazy.
Oh man, yeah.
That was appreciate that, Coop, man.
Thanks, Coop. This is just my more surprising thing of the day. I feel like everything else I did expect. Now, one thing I think this will be the next one I wasn't expecting was Jordan Stout. Is that the next slide we have?
Actually, that one is not in this deck here, but we can definitely talk about that one. Yeah, we're definitely gonna talk about that one. We can go there next for sure.
Okay, for sure. Yeah, Jordan Stout. Talking about the Giants, talking about Ardarius going there, talking about likely going there. Our punter, Jordan Stout, went there to be the highest paid punter, I believe. 3 years, 12 point something million. Congrats to him. This one caught me off guard. I thought he was going to stay. Had his best year with us in his contract year. It's very Raven-like for guys to have. And he's back with old Johnny Harbs. So good for him. Best luck to him. That is a lot of money for a punter. And I'm kind of, wondering if we'll take a punter with the draft pick this year or we wait till undrafted. I wonder if EDC kind of has different thoughts about that. But good on him. And could we get a comp pick, like a 7th round comp pick for a punter? That would be crazy. Maybe EDC did it again. I'm not too sure. But that one just caught me off guard. Like 12 mil for a punter. Wow.
Yeah. Kevin, I know we let you go here. You're about to go live yourself. Just give us your thoughts on Jordan Stout. I mean, that was one that totally decided me, just like Alex said earlier today, much like the Keaton Mitchell one. What are your thoughts on Jordan Stout no longer being a Raven?
Yeah, that was one of the guys I wish they would have brought back because it essentially was you spent a 4th round pick on him and he had a couple of rough years to start. And you're kind of like, okay, like we see the potential, but it's not really translating over. And then he finally started to get it together in year 3. And you're like, okay, now I can really see this. And then all of a sudden, boom, year 4, he won them games last season. Like that's how good he was. He literally like flipped the field, won them games, punts out of 2, weird, crazy angle, spin punts, go 90 degrees out of bounds. I'm just like, who is this guy? And you do all of that developing for 4 years just to see him walk out of the door. And I guess John Harbaugh said, yeah, I did that. He's coming with me. So that might have been the mindset. But, now essentially, if it is a young guy, if it's a rookie, undrafted, or draft pick, you essentially have to reset there. I would hope they go with a veteran. I know Tommy Townsend's still on the market right now. The Giants also released their punter, Jamie Gillum, who is well known as the Scottish Hammer. So maybe it's a little punter swap 1-for-1 with the Giants and the Ravens. I would hope that's the direction they go because, in a year that's Super Bowl expectations, especially with Crosby on the board here, you don't want to go through like the year one Jordan Stout experience again with another guy who is maybe shanking punts or not getting the ball inside the 10 and you're giving the opponent good field position. So I think it makes sense for the Ravens to bring in a vet punter. But that was one where, I thought that he was going to stay. But I was just wrong a lot today, I guess. I was just wrong on this one, too.
Yeah, man. That's how, and like, we mentioned it before we went live again, like this free agency period is so much fun because it's just so unpredictable. Like, bro, it was literally, I'm reading through the Adam Schefter's and Ari Myrov timelines earlier today, and I'm just kind of overwhelmed, right? Like just by all of this information that's dropping all at one time, whether it be about the Ravens, other teams, and we haven't even touched all the other free agency, signings across the NFL, but there's been a lot going on. Listen, Kevin, we know we got to let you go. You're getting ready to go live on Locked On Ravens. So thank you so much for coming out to this episode 386 of PRP. Let's clap it up for Kevin, y'all.
Thank
you. Huge round of applause for Kev. Friend of the show. I think this is your maybe third or fourth on the show, man. We're always we're always happy to have you, and hopefully we can have you back in the future if it sounds good.
Absolutely. I would love it, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll see you around.
All right. Peace out, guys.
All right. Peace. Yes, sir. That is Kevin, all right, Kevin Ostreicher, friend of the show, big friend of the show. Always coming on here, giving us his takes on the Ravens. And again, if you want to subscribe to Kevin's show, all you got to do is type in Locked On Ravens. That's right, Locked On Ravens on YouTube. They've got one of the biggest YouTube channels for the Ravens content community. So make sure you guys go ahead and check them out as well if you have not already. So, okay, so let me see. Where were we, Alex? We were at Jordan Stout. And I think that Kevin was making a really good point right before he left out, right? About how, you develop these guys and then you just kind of let them go. But that was where I was talking about kind of like there's not that emotional connection because Jesse Minter, Declan Doyle, and the like, they didn't draft these guys, right? They didn't draft guys. So kind of like, I'm going to go and I'm going to get my own guys in here. And I think that while we are losing a lot of players, I mean, Jordan Stout, Kolar, Likely, Linderbaum, and it kind of feels like the sky's falling just a little bit, right? They're very patchable holes, and it's still very, very early in the off season. Like draft and free agents we're near over. I think we can really, really come out of this feeling really good about the roster going into the season. But what's you?
So when I put out my tweet about like what are we doing with the Keaton Mitchell, like it was more so the fact that I feel like he can be a key contributor. Like I think he has a lot of promise. And now what I kind of got annoyed with is people saying, "Oh, like I'm getting tired of you Ravens fans for being like this." Like just because we keep on doing this does not mean it's always the right way. I feel like there's guys out there that got taken, interior linemen, for example, that could really have helped this team. I'm not asking for a 32-year-old Mike Evans. I didn't want him. There's no reason why you should be giving him 3 years, 60 mil for 300 some yards last year, and he's consistently hurt. I'm not asking for, these big guys like Linderbaum. That was just unrealistic. But I'm asking for a guy who gets maybe 3-year, 25 mil, a center or a proven interior lineman, or maybe, hey, a Kevin Zeitler. I would like that. I think that would make us a better team. And the patchable holes, I 100% agree. You're tight end 2, you're tight end 3. We've shown you we can draft and develop. Hell, Chico Conquo put up 500 yards consistently. Could be a good tight end 2, or David Njoku, AFC North experience, playoff experience the 1 year. He can come in there. A third safety, tons of them out there. We've shown we can hone them. Definitely would take another defensive back. We saw Awuzie last year for 1 year. My thing, though, is I need EDC to hit these day 3 picks. What he has not done in recent years, that is going to be the key, I think, for us to be a much better team. You have got to hit them and maybe give them some playtime, but maybe to develop them the correct way. But to me, the sky really isn't falling. I sat back and I tried to relax. Like I was overreacting. We can definitely replace most of these guys, but you've got to build the O-line the correct way. And that's why I'm upset. I still don't feel like it's been addressed correctly, but it's only day 1. But I feel like a lot of big targets are off the board. And defensive line wise, I think I would take another edge rusher. I wasn't expecting Draymond Jones to come back. We'll talk about him. We saw John Franklin Myers, by the way, who I know you were a huge fan of.
Yeah.
Hey, that projection that we thought blown out the water. I mean, absolutely
Yeah.
blown. We said, oh man, that would be a good contract. No, the Titans and Raiders were just throwing anybody and everybody the bag today. Crazy,
Yep.
crazy money. But it definitely, they're patchable holes. They are. So I think we'll be fine. It's just like I think we're both just worried about the O line because we saw what happened last year. And to be honest, I don't really trust EDC to build a good O line right now after seeing last year.
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree. When it comes, wait, did I get another notification? Hold on, let me see. Okay, nothing. I thought I got something new. These times are wild. You just never know. There's notifications coming in left and right. You just got to kind of be on your 10 at all times. But no, man, it's for me when it comes to the O line. I think that drafting a center, you got to draft your center of the future for the franchise. I think in this draft here, if that means a second round pick, pick number 45 or a third round pick or whatever, you got to spend some pretty good draft capital replacing Tyler Linderbaum, right? Because you let him go out, you let him walk out the door. Obviously, you didn't want to pay 27 million, and I get that, but that was a staple piece on this offense that people aren't really giving Linderbaum as much credit as he deserves for. You know what I mean? I've always mentioned here on the show over the years, like the most important player on the offense is the center. Every play starts with him, and as we saw, the snap issues and stuff like that when we had like Skura playing center, and it was just bad. It was bad. So to have like kind of like that spot be held on by Linderbaum for the last 3 years, 3 4 years, that's felt really good. Been really good for Lamar Jackson to the tune of an additional MVP as well. But that's why I think again, you got to go out and you got to hunt for a center because if you're not going to go out and get one in free agency, if you're not going to spend big money on one, second pick number 45, I think it would be safe to say, yeah, we're going to do whatever we need to do to continue to build these trenches. Now, Alex, you mentioned Draymond Jones, right?
Yes.
And let me actually pull us back over here into this screen. Draymond Jones is also another guy who's gone now as well. So the Patriots are signing former Ravens D lineman Draymond Jones to a 3-year, $30 million deal after he had a career high 7 sacks last season. Now, Alex, I mean, again, this was one that I think Ravens fans were kind of 50-50 on. Some people thought that, they were going to bring him back on a 1-year, whatever. Um, but then other people thought that he wanted the bag somewhere, which is very fair after a season that he just had. What were your thoughts on Draymond Jones leaving the Ravens for the Patriots for 3 years, 39 mil?
I definitely want him back after seeing we got Max Crosby. I think he would have feasted alongside Crosby, but I'm not mad at him for going. That is great money for him. His production dipped off last year. Obviously, I just think our defense was not kind to edge rushers last year, and we can definitely get into some tweets that came out this past weekend. I don't know if you saw the one I'm talking about, but I hope you did, from a former coach's brother that came out.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, yeah. So good on him. Definitely would have taken him back. I think it would have been a great tandem, but I'm not gonna get mad at him for going to a Mike Vrabel defense and for him to just probably cook there. I think he was probably there when Vrabel's first year there, I want to say. So maybe he has a little familiarity with him, but he had 2 sacks for us like for half the season. Not mad at him. I appreciate the energy he brought. The whole little crying meme he did to the Bengals, that was going on. But good on him getting your money. I'm not mad at him for getting paid, and it'll turn into a comp pick for sure. And then EDC will get another pick. So I just don't think I was ever expecting him to come back.
Yeah, but again, that's why in that Crosby move is everything. It's everything because imagine like how in shambles the Ravens fan base would be right now if they had gotten rid of Draymond Jones, and still had no Max Crosby. Like they were still just left with Mike Green, David Ojabo, right, and Tavius Robinson. And shout out to Tavius and Mike Green, David Ojabo. Man, I don't know why he's still on my team. I
He's a
just
free
don't
agent. Don't
know.
worry.
Oh, he's a free agent now. Okay, good. Okay, oh thank God. I mean, salute to you, brother, but we definitely needed to move on from that a minute ago, in my estimation. But no, man, that's why I said again, Max Crosby, that kind of heals a lot of these wounds, right? Because I just thinking about back to it, like 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8s, right? And you got to think about Max Crosby, type player he is. He's never really been on a competitive team where like he's gonna be having leads in fourth quarters, right? And getting to actually rush the passer. I mean, teams are running the football at him because his team is losing, because the Raiders were losing, right? The Ravens will be in position, and because of Lamar Jackson and everything like that, if the offense can get up to par, they'll be in position for Max Crosby to really pin years back and go for way more sacks than he was able to go for with the Raiders. So, man, I mean, again, I hate losing these guys, some of these guys, but again, Max Crosby, he makes everything better. Makes everything better. That acquisition.
In his only playoff game in 2021 against the Bengals, in which they lost to the eventual AFC champions, he had 1 sack, 2 tackles for losses, 2 quarterback hits, and 6 tackles. So yeah, so 1 sack, 6 tackles, 2 tackles for losses, and 2 quarterback hits. He played 82% of the snaps as well. So that's already a good start. In the one playoff game, he performed pretty damn well. So that's good to hear. And I think just it's going to be big on getting somebody, I'd say above average, uh, across from him, along with Mike Green. I want to have depth. I want to have multiple guys we can bring in. Let Jesse Mentor just do a bunch of different things. Keep confusing the defense. So that was, I think, all of our free agents that we've lost so far. Obviously, our Darius went to the Giants. Still have some guys out there. Your Pat Ricards. You have Alohi Gilman out there. Cheeto Awuzie you have out there. Um, Daniel Falele out there. Tylan Wallace out there. D-Hop out there. Um, I think we'll bring back maybe 2 of them. I think Tylan might come back as a special teamer, but I can easily see him going to New York, the Giants. Tylan, to me, is like the special teams guy, and I think John is probably salivating, thinking about having him back over there in Big Blue. But I think that's all the Ravens guys that did go, I want to say. And a lot of comp picks I'm seeing right now. I'm definitely seeing a 3rd for Linderbaum, probably a 5th, I want to say, for Dre Jones. Whew. Yeah. It's
Yeah. Well, we
definitely
know
gonna be
those comp picks definitely make it day. Those comp picks definitely make EDC happy. But it's about what he does with them. I mean, like you mentioned, like, what's the point in having all these picks if like you can't hit on, some of these later rounds, Appreciate the Saquon, but I just don't understand what the point is, because like now more than ever, Alex, with us giving up our next 2 first round picks, as much as I love the Max Crosby trade, right? We had to give up a pretty penny, 2 pennies, right? To get Max Crosby. The pressure a lot higher on this year, next year's draft, like what you do, those day 2, and like you mentioned, those day 3 picks. So and like you mentioned before, you don't necessarily trust Eric DaCosta to fix his line, things like that. So I don't know. It's kind of like blind faith right now because, like, all right, you got his Max Crosby, but how are you going to answer the rest of these questions, right? And these questions are very, very pressing ones at that. So, yeah, a lot. Big day, big day, big day. What else do we miss, though? Do we miss anything? Oh, so here's another thing. Go
yeah.
ahead. Actually, go
I
ahead. Go
think
ahead.
we hit. I want to say all on the Ravens. I think we did hit all of that. Um, I think we'll make a signing maybe tomorrow or Wednesday. I think the Lamar extension is probably pretty close to being done. I was a little upset though with no restructures to Roquan or Marlon. That to me, I feel like one of them has to be done. I saw the Chiefs make a bunch of cap, and that's kind of where I'm a little upset. Maybe I feel like we could have made more cap. I know we're in negative 12 right now. There's ways, EDC. Maybe I'm a little upset at that. Maybe I'm looking for things to be upset at.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, like that the Lamar deal is probably all but signed, sealed, delivered now. I mean, I just think that again, with taking the big swing of Max Crosby and seemingly going to make more moves in free agency just based off of sheer necessity, something has to be kind of worked out already. Because if not, this type of spending is just kind of irresponsible. You know what I mean? But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. So, what I wanted to ask you, Alex, is do you think that the acquisition of Max Crosby, again, we lost a bunch of guys today, and some guys pending losing, aka Keaton Mitchell. Um, but those again, those positions that we lost, those weren't necessarily like end all be all type players, right? But we did get an end all be all type player in Max Crosby. So a lot of people in national media are kind of pushing this narrative that like, hey, look, like the biggest no excuses year for Lamar and the Ravens. Like they got to get the job done. And there's lesser and lesser reasons now. I mean, because for a long time, you could attribute, the Ravens losing playoffs to not being able to force turnovers, not getting sacks in big spot. You know what I mean? So what do? You go out and you get a premier edge rusher at a premium position. That's a premium position, edge rusher. You go out and you spend 2 first-round picks on that, right? So now, like, pressure to get it done. I know they don't have like any real receivers that you worry about, outside of Zay Flowers, but and of course you're losing likely. But what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that it's really like a no more excuses year this
Yeah.
season for the Ravens?
Is this what Dan Orlovsky said kind of on the show this
He
morning?
said it. I think Shannon Sharp and Ocho were saying
Okay.
something of the same ilk as well. So there's been a couple people
Yeah.
saying this, and I low key kind of agree. You know what I mean? Because it's like, what else would we need, right? If Ravens go into the season with like a serviceable O line, they figure out a way to make the O line like
Yes.
serviceable to where fans are like, okay, this is good, right? Maybe not knocking our socks off, but this is good. We can work with that, and they patch up all the other holes in some capacity as well. We would have to look at as like, okay, this is our year, right? I mean, where are especially if Matabike comes back? Like, what are we talking about, right?
It's all contingent upon that line, and I'm gonna keep on harping on it. That's what we need to be fixed, and that's why I want to see more investment. Bring me back Zeitler. I don't care how old he is. He was still freaking pretty good last year with the Titans. I mean, he was one of the highest graded linemen in the league, and I think we do have some younger guys. You can have a Carson Vincent behind them, a Emory Jones, and then you can draft somebody. Like, you can have guys. If somebody goes down for 2 games, a solid guy come in, and if it were to happen, if we were to have a solid line, then yes, I can agree. I can definitely agree with that. I think right now, with what we have, it's a pretty damn good team. I just can't go in there feeling like I did last year with Filet Lane and Voorhees. It just is not smart. And we saw Lamar get hurt. And by the way, Huntley got extended 2 years, 11 million, which I think I'm happy for that. Definitely earned it. Um, much better than Cooper Rush last year. And Cooper Rush, you can sayonara, happy trails. But once we get that way, then yes, I'd feel better. And especially Matty BK's back, 100%, 1,000,000%. I think it'd have to be. And
That's the
I'm looking.
biggest.
So
Yeah.
here's the thing: the Steelers right now. I just saw they get Rico Dowdle. They trade for Michael Pittman, give him a bag. Right now, they're doing what the Steelers do. Pardon my language. They're throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks. They don't have a quarterback right now. Like, I'm not really worried about them. I saw Jamar Chase sound like a 13-year-old white boy on Xbox. Man, what the F? They got Max Crosby. Like,
Oh yeah,
I
I
saw
saw
him
that.
crash over that, and then the Browns are just they're Browns. I think they might be a little bit better. So I definitely think division for sure. I'm taking it step by step, and then looking around, I see the Chiefs get Kenneth Walker. I don't think they'll get Jeremiah
Yeah.
Love, which I'm happy about. I see the Bills. They lost one of their linemen. You have to fix him. Their defense to me still is not scary whatsoever. Oh, Jamel Dean as well. They got, which is a good signing for them.
Steelers, yeah.
Yeah, I still think we're gonna win the North, but it's just I need EDC to really lock in on this line. And I think Crosby to me, like we talked about on Friday, if I know, and if my auntie had lost my uncle, yes. If Crosby was on that team just last year, they're 2 to 3 win better. Like they win 2 to 3 more games. One of the Steelers games, probably the Bills game, and probably the Patriots game. So that right there takes you to an 11-win team.
That's true, Alex. I mean, because that was the thing, man. We just could not close a game to save our lives. As much as people wanted to put the blame on Lamar Jackson for looking like normal Lamar, I mean, like that defense just could not get off the field when they really needed to get a stop. That Bills game was like it shows you really everything you needed to know. And I guess like the Ravens kind of started to feel, and a lot of the players kind of echoed the sentiment. They were like, that was when things like really like got it messed up, like mentally, right? Because it was almost like they were helpless in that Bills game. I mean, outside of Nnamdi Madubuike getting a key sack, and it's ironic that Madubuike was the guy to get that sack late in that game against Buffalo, but nobody else was getting any sort of pressure at all on Josh Allen. He was just sitting back there getting whatever he wanted against this defensive line in the secondary. So, it's just again, it's one of those things, man, where Madubuike is the biggest domino, right? The middle of the trenches, as I've been talking about that for the past couple of weeks, how like that is the most important part of a football team. If you the middle of the trenches, interior of the O line, interior of the D line as well. As Modis with the super chat donation here, appreciate you dropping the 2 piece down below. Says you could definitely say win a championship, but weak O line also loses championships. These are the facts. These are the facts. And this is exactly why the Ravens have to spare no expense, at least expenses that they have left, any resources that they can use to go out and rebuild this offensive line. Because losing Tyler Linderbaum, we saw it coming. Now that it's official, this is huge. Right? This is huge. That's going to be one of the bigger storylines going into the season. I mean, outside of Jesse Minter, outside of Max Crosby, no, the Ravens, Lamar Jackson has a new center, right? It's a little different, man. But appreciate you so much for your super chat donation, Asmodeus.
Thank you, thank you. I think I don't want to get too much on a tangent as well, but I saw Boy Mafia the Bengals. It's Mike McDonald isn't calling their defense, and they got Cook from the Chiefs as well. I still feel like we're still in a really good spot. And I was overreacting, I think, earlier on Twitter. It's just hitting on picks. I think what the Chiefs did so good in their reign as a dynasty, the new age, they hit on a lot of their day 2 and day 3 picks. And I think they did a great job in trading guys when it was necessary. I don't think EDC has done his best with that. I think we would overpay guys. We've talked about that. Kind of paying guys when they've overstayed their welcome or when they've kind of hit their peak and they're fallen. We are throwing Kyle Van Noy out there with all due respect. He had very little, no juice left, and he was just bull rushed, and even that wasn't doing anything. So it'll be interesting to see if we, were to part ways with anybody, make any trades. I don't think we do, but EDC has got to hit this draft, like more so than ever. Has got to, and I guess make the right have a 2023-esque when we got Darby, Millette for like the cheap. The minimum deals, those guys absolutely stepped up, but Minter's defense, I do feel a lot better with, I think. Don't think the leads will get blown. And talking about that, I think that's a lot of just mentally. I think in the stadium, you could feel about the leads getting blown. The energy kind of just got sucked out of the stadium, especially that Patriots game. We're like, where's Henry at? Where's Henry at?
Yeah,
Why is he
yeah.
not in? And I know we had Huntley in, but we were winning that game. And then you could just feel it. This guy gets burned. Now that it's 4th and 1 and Diggs, a long first down. I'm like, you're kidding me. It'll be a whole different atmosphere. So I'm hoping that just takes that choker's gene out of us as well. I know players have that in them, but I'm hoping the coaches can suck it out. And then one more thing real quick. I saw Black Daniels mention it. I don't want to waste a 4th round pick with a punter. You can get a punter as an undrafted guy, or you can get a veteran. I just don't think it's necessary to spend capital on a punter.
Yeah. Yeah, there's certainly bigger fish to fry. You get a serviceable bridge guy on a 1-year deal or something like that, and just kind of rock out that way. But no, man, I do think that the Ravens are going to make probably I'd say probably 2 big swings, right, in the next week or 2, if I had to say. So, number 1, I think that the Lamar deal will probably get announced. And I know just last week I was up here saying that, like, I don't think it's gonna get done because it doesn't make sense for it to get done. But after, doing the deal with Max Crosby and seemingly positioning themselves to be kind of like big game hunters this offseason, then I think that they're actually going to make some more moves, which would require Lamar Jackson's deal to be done. So I think that that'll be the first big splash or whatever, whatever order you want to put it in. But the second one, I think, would be going out and acquiring, either a center or maybe another guard. I think now, since you got John Simpson, it's probably going to be a center. We don't know which free agent centers are out there right now, Alex, again?
I
I think
think
you said it.
he got released by the Packers. Cushionberry, I believe, still out there from the Titans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Hmm. So, I mean, they still do have options out there. And really
yes.
what you want is a guy who, you can come and he can play on. Maybe you don't find your guy of the future, right? And with the center that you're going to acquire in free agent, maybe even trade, right? But maybe you can find a guy who you can have, and like he's just kind of a solid guy, again, serviceable, is what we're looking at right now. Because Alex, you got to think about it. When it came to left guard, right guard, and hell, even at times center, I mean, we were below average, well below average offensive line unit. So like anything is really an improvement, after that, an improvement on that. So like you mentioned, Derrick Henry had the second most rushing yards in the league last year, only behind, who was it, Cook, right? James Cook. And behind that offensive line, Lamar Jackson obviously couldn't do what he normally does behind that offensive line. But it's
And he wasn't even a threat with his legs for most of the
y-
year.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. You're right. I don't know. I don't know. Again, I think we share the same sentiment. Like, I think we're in a good spot. we do have an enormous amount of pressure. I think the floor for this ceiling, not floor for the ceiling, floor for this season, upcoming season, is going to be, bare minimum AFC championship game. I don't want to necessarily go Super Bowl just yet,
Okay.
but I think that, granted health and everything like that, like logically speaking, bro, like I don't really see a way unless Jesse Minter is just not what we thought he was at all. But like with the talent on this team, based off of how they performed in the past, with guys like Matabike, Travis Jones in the lineup, Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey, all those guys, Nate Wiggins. But then you plug in a Max Crosby, you would think that would only speed things up for this defense. You know what I mean? And he's a guy who I think I heard somebody saying this earlier, like he really changes the math, right? A Max Crosby, like the gravity, right? That has to be like kind of pushed towards him to make sure that he does not wreck your game. That opens up so many other guys. Again, like Mike Green, guys like Nnamdi Madubuike. So again, that defense should really come back to dominance. I mean, if there's just two things we know about football. I mean, number one, Max Crosby, we know he can rush the damn passer and he can stop the run too. And he's a 3-down guy. You know what I mean? Like he's going to be a staple in that defense, and you plug in there with the rest of the defensive. And if health permits, obviously, this should be a really, really good defense.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Fix that line first and foremost, and then if he's still out there, Stevie B. If we're really serious about it, tackle in some void years. Trey Hendrickson. Listen, I know you don't like the Bengals. If we really want to just get greedy, void years, just what we do with OBJ. What do you want? You know what I mean? If he's gonna want way too much, that's just me speaking, just pure Madden. But I would love to have somebody else like that across from Crosby. It won't be Hendrickson's level, but I would. That's just my dream, just to think about that. My big crush, honestly, for free agency was Alontae Taylor. I love the way he played. Got a bag from Tennessee. Got a freaking bag from them. But like I said, first and foremost, definitely the line. I think they'll get that done. I'm hoping Zeitler. I really am. If we really want to, sit here and have a good line, these guys, they have familiarity. Zeitler, Simpson, just bring them back and then draft a guy, and then you can just kind of breed the next generation of your Ravens O line. So
Yeah. By the way, Alex, real quick aside here, old friend Adafe Owe has a new team,
I
right?
guess we talk about the
Adafe
NFL.
Owe.
Let's talk about the
Yeah,
NFL.
we can talk about the
I'm ready.
NFL now. Yeah. Adafe Owe signed with the Commanders, I believe it was earlier today. And I don't know the numbers on the deal, Alex. I have to look back at my phone for it,
I
but
got you.
I'm glad. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. What was it?
4 years, 100 mil.
Ooh, man. Owe getting the bag, man. I'm happy for Owe, man. I am. I am. Like he showed a lot of promise last season. Not this past season, but the one before that, right? Getting 10 plus sacks. I know Van Noy also had like 12 something sacks, 12 and a half, say. But Adafe Owe got his. And then this past season with the Ravens and those 6 games that he played with us, did nothing. Did nothing at all. And then goes to a Jesse Minter led defense, and he puts up 10 and a half sacks on a short year, right? So I'm glad he's getting paid. He's back in the DMV, place he's very familiar with. But I think that's actually a really good acquisition for the Commanders.
It's crazy what a good 65% of the season can do for a player in a contract year. He had no sacks with us the first couple of weeks. Goes to the Chargers and earns stuff $100 million. Hell, Jalen Phillips getting that much money. I think he had 1 or 2 sacks with the Eagles when he got traded, and he gets that much. I was just shocked at the money some of these edge rushers were getting, and it makes this Max Crosby trade for me. I know we gave 2 first, but I'm kind of happy. I mean, this guy to me is proven. I think Owe, he had his 10 sack year with us, and then he had a good year last year, but it's definitely a risk the Commanders are taking. So hopefully Dan Quinn uses him right. I can see that, that 400 for just that was insane. Yeah, good on Owe getting paid, getting securing the future for him and his, and congrats to him. And I think talking about things that surprised me, Alec Pierce. All right, and we are Ravens fans, and this kind of brought me back. Like Alec Pierce got 4 years, 114. I think EDC is like, am I going to pay Zay that? And I think he's probably questioning if he's going to pay him that. I really do.
Oh, that's the not even right about that. Alec Pierce did get the bag. So does it
Yeah.
mean for Zay Flowers? Obviously, with how the Ravens are moving now, they seem not too shy to taking some of these big swings and parting ways with some of their what you might consider some of their staple players. So I mean it depends on what Zay does this year. If Declan Doyle is able to really turn him into a bona fide wide receiver one, because right now I don't think that he's a bona fide one. Until I see a couple more signature performances, I think he's well on his way. Well on his way. But if he gets a couple more signature performances next year under the tutelage of Declan Doyle and Justin Hunter, for that matter, then yeah, you're gonna be have to ask those tough questions. Hey, look, because he's gonna ask for more money than Alec Pierce. Just
Yeah.
saying, right? And it's I don't know. It might get uncomfortable. It might get uncomfortable. But we'll have to see how the Ravens address wide receiver. The rest of this offseason. I think, Alex. Are they going to go out and they spend a high draft capital on a wide receiver now? I mean, especially with not having a first round pick anymore. I don't think that they would do that, but we've seen stranger things happen before. Are they going to go out and are they going to acquire somebody here in free agency or through trade or whatever, and kind of rely on them? So we'll have to see. But great point that she brought up, Alex. I mean, Zay Flowers, I don't know. He might price himself out of Baltimore. It's possible.
So I'm looking at Alec Pierce. He had 1,003 yards this year in 15 games, 21.3 yards per catch, 6 touchdowns. Last year had 824 yards on 37 catches, 22.3 yards per catch, and 7 touchdowns. 29 million is a lot of money. That is a lot. And you can, I mean, obviously he has Zay beat in the yards per catch, but Zay has more catches and more yards, obviously on more volume. And I know they were throwing up some balls in some of those Colts games, but now he's the guy. Michael Pittman got traded to the Steelers, so let's see how you're doing now with the ones on you more so than having maybe 2 or 3s. Should be interesting. Him and Josh Downs, they'll be a good duo together, but that was just a lot of money to give to Mr. Alec Pierce. That one definitely caught me off guard. I thought he was going to the Patriots. I did not think he was going to re-sign with the Colts whatsoever.
Yeah, definitely got that bag, man. But I see some of you guys in the chat talking about Zay Flowers, whether or not he's going to get paid. It'll be interesting to see. But again, I think with the biggest difference, did you say? Because we're just reading on numbers, Alex. But when it comes to Alec Pierce versus Zay Flowers in touchdowns, what are the numbers there?
So in the past 2 years, Pierce had
Okay.
13 touchdowns, and in the past 2 years, Zay Flowers has had 9. Zay
Okay.
averages 14 yards a pop, but Zay's our 1, and Pierce is just our deep ball guy, and that's where a lot of his touchdowns came off of this past year, because Pittman and Downs would get him down the field.
Well, I mean, that kind of makes it even harder to
Yeah.
justify, paying Zay Flowers that much when the time comes. So I think that because the thing that I was going to say, the angle I was going to take is I think that Zay Flowers has to get more touchdowns, right? I think you have to get your offense field with 6 points off of your own doing in order to really, really have a strong leg to stand on in some of these contract negotiations. Like, yeah, I mean, we can talk about yards per reception. We can talk about, this and that. But it's like, okay, are you really making game breaking plays and breaking the game open for us, like taking matters into your own hands and putting 6 on the board, right? That's what we want to see at the end of the day. That's what we want to see. It's like UFC, like signing. There's like we want to sign guys who get knockouts, right? Because that's what kind of pays the bills around here. So I don't. But we'll see what Declan Doyle can turn Zay Flowers into. Hopefully, again, my hope is that he turns a corner and he becomes one of those dangerous receivers in the league, because of the way he's schemed up or how he's evolved with his game and things like that. But we'll see. We'll just have to see.
What's interesting to me is that Pierce had 84 targets, only 47 catches. That's so I'm just gonna read you some of his games. 1 catch, 36 yards. 4 catches, 84 yards. 4 catches, 132 yards. 5 catches, 80 yards. Then he has games like that. One catch, 16 yards. 1 catch, 26 yards. In a big game against the Jags, he lost 23-17. 5 targets, no catches. That to me is like little worrying, but 29 mil.
Yeah.
28
But this is inflation. This is inflation happening in real time. Same thing happened. $27 million a year, so this is what you get now. This is what you get. Teams know the salary cap is going up. Players know it. Everybody's getting paid a bag. Everyone's getting paid a bag and just worrying about, paying the cost for it later. That's the name of the game here. What else? What else happened? Here, let me see what actually Cool B says here in the chat. JMO is getting 26 million a year. Isaiah is getting 30. I don't know. Because if what we saw Isaiah likely do and to Linderbaum what they were able to do for our offense, and we weren't willing to pay them, I just don't know who outside of Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson on that offense not bendable. Zay Flowers isn't the guy to me who it feels like the Ravens would have to hold on to for dear life. Uh, I don't know. Especially with Hollywood, even though Hollywood wanted to leave, but they made it happen, right? And again, what we're seeing this year is they're changing shit up, right? They're not resting on their laurels anymore. So I don't know. You may be right. I hope you're right. I hope he stays a Raven, though. I hope he stays a Raven.
This is interesting. For Jameson Williams, his two biggest games came in losses this year. 7 catches, 144 yards, 7 catches, 134. A loss to the Packers and a loss to the Rams. And he's next to Amon-Ra. To make the case for Zay, it's like Zay is doing this all by the field last year all by himself, if I'm making a case for Zay. So it's interesting. I mean, that's going to be, I would love to be a fly on the wall in those contract talks. Because you can go both ways. The Ravens say, Zay, you don't score enough touchdowns, and then Zay can say, well, I'm getting these targets, but I'm not targeted in the red zone. They can bring up the yak, you can bring up this and that. It's going to be interesting with Zay.
Yeah, it is. His agent has got his work up for him, for sure. But again, I hope he stays. I hope he does stay Raven. I just want to when it comes to actually being a receiver who again can threaten the end zone just a little bit more. Because again, what good is a wide receiver one if he's not putting up 6? That's kind of always been again like my school of thought. Like I get it. He's got better numbers in terms of receptions and receiving yards and yards per catch and things like that than a lot of other guys who are getting paid this amount of money. But again, I think the Ravens are going to look at it as, hey, look, we got to cut costs somewhere, right? And if you're going to demand a boatload of money, and there's other deals to be done between now and the time that Zay Flowers works his out, so that number is probably going to be even higher, Alex. And we'll have to see which way the Ravens want to go, with Zay Flowers. So we'll see. What else happened around the league, Alex? What else happened? What else piqued our interest?
I got a lot. Mike Evans
Go
to
ahead.
the
Go ahead.
Niners. Congrats.
Yeah.
You are going to make it into the "You Light My Fire" edits. He will be the next one. He will be the next one. Siri, play "Outstanding" by the Gap Band. He's not going to be 13.
Oh my gosh.
It's not going to look right. I don't think it's going to work. Somehow, some way, the Niners are like one of the oldest teams in the league. They are one of the most I-word prone teams in the league. They have the whole conspiracy theory with like the whole energy thing around their stadium. And I think to sign a guy who has been hurt a good amount recently, and he's even older, I just don't get the signing for the Niners whatsoever. I'm not a big fan of it. I don't see it.
I think they just wanted some juice at wide receiver. You know what I mean? Like after losing Ayuk, of course, no more Debo there as well. I mean, what are they really working with? Jawan Jennings, who is just like, what?
Free agent.
You know what I mean? Mike, he's a free agent too. So so yeah, they had to kind of bring somebody in, because it just cannot be all Christian McCaffrey, right? Christian McCaffrey is only getting older, and as we saw last year, they still will give him a huge workload, right? And it's going to match up to him. You have to have somebody else who threatens the defense, and I think that's what Mike Evans does here. He's a guy who, strong possession receiver, but can also take the top off of a defense and go score 6, right? And I think that's something that's very valuable, especially for a team that still probably feels like they're knocking on the door, with just a couple of pieces in the San Francisco 49ers. I think it's a good move for them.
It's a lot. I'm just not feeling it. I think they could have went elsewhere, and they've had a good job of developing receivers. Shanahan, maybe it'll work. I just don't know how I feel about the whole, just his hamstring that scares me. Moving on, I guess. Travis Etienne is your newest Saint. 4 years, $52 million.
ETN on the Saints. What does this mean for AK-47? What does this mean for Alvin Kamara?
I guess find a trade suitor. I think he restructured as well. They have what's his face, Devin Hill. I think he did great stuff last year as well. I think they might be moving on.
I don't like this because I could see him going to a contender or somebody, Alvin Kamara, him getting traded to a contender or something being worked out that way. And it may just be in the AA. I don't know who, but it's totally possible. So, ETN, again, another one where I think there's probably another move coming after that that'll make this move make a little bit more sense. But I'm not mad at that one either. What else you got for me?
I'm going to go through real quick. We're just going to talk about these two teams, the Titans. They signed Austin Schlottman, center, Mitch Trubisky, Daniel Bellinger, Cordell Flott, Alante Taylor, John Franklin Myers. The Raiders, Malcolm Kuntz, Eric Stokes, Jalen Naylor, Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker, Kwity Paye, Tyler Linderbaum. Those two teams went absolutely crazy today. Just the money they threw. For the Titans, 24 mil, 45 mil, 60 mil, 63 mil, 78 mil. For the Raiders, 11 mil, 30 mil, 35 mil, 36 mil, 40 mil, 48 mil, 81 mil. Wow.
They had to, right? These are two teams where it's like they have to really start over and hit the reset button. It's fully time to rebuild. And if I was a fan of the Titans or the Raiders, I'd be applauding. I'd be applauding my franchise for going out there, and obviously they weren't like us, like maybe like a piece or two pieces away from really, really being strong contenders, right? But these guys are a long way away. I mean, the Raiders, for crying out loud, are about to draft the number one overall pick, Fernando Mendoza, and see what he's got to offer. And the Titans just did that with Cam Ward last season. So they're in full rebuild mode. I got to respect it. I do wish that John Franklin Myers would have been a Raven. That would have been awesome. But seeing what they paid him, man, I mean, I guess I could have expected that. It seemed like there was a lot of guys who seemingly got overpaid, or maybe that's just a product of, salary cap getting higher and higher. And, these numbers are never going to plateau. Guys, they're only going to keep going. They're only going to keep rising. So, salute to the Titans and the Raiders, though. I'm not mad at them.
Yeah, and I just want to go through real quick with the most money who got. Wan'Dale Robinson, 4 years, 78, going to the Titans. Malik Willis, 3 years, 67.5 mil. Tua Tagovailoa is no longer a Dolphin and now a Falcon. Two lefties on the Falcons.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Whoa, wait a minute. Now that you say that, that is actually crazy. I mean, I guess you get continuity from, in practice and whoever's back up, then working scout team, and maybe, I don't know. But I don't like the I do not, for one, I'll say this. I don't like the Falcons getting Tua Tagovailoa just as much as I don't like who is it that just signed Malik Willis, Alex?
Dolphins.
Yeah, I don't like Malik Willis for the Dolphins either. I don't.
Yeah.
It just doesn't really seem like this is the era of the smaller quarterback. They seem to struggle in some big spots. These more physical, athletic defensive lines, they struggle. Tua Tagovailoa game didn't really translate to January. I mean, now he's going to be in a dome, albeit in Atlanta, right? But what do you think about that?
I'm not a fan. I think the Falcons, actually, real quick, John Simpson. So, funny enough, Kevin posted Max Crosby defending John Simpson after getting swung on when they were teammates. And Max Crosby just said, "Let's get it, family." I forgot. So, Simpson and Crosby played together. That's cool. So, talking about nastiness, teammates having each other's back. But going back to what you just asked me, I think the Falcons, and this is not me just being a Ravens fan, would have done great having Joe Flacco as a backup. I think continuity he had with Kevin Stefanski was great. I think that mentor towards Penix, and you're not rushing Penix back either. He had a season-ending I word last year. If he has to, wait a couple of weeks, that's fine. You have Flacco to come in there. The NFC South is wide open. Flacco, you know what you get from him. I think he'll keep you somewhat contending in that division. He's not playing, TJ Watt a couple times a year. He's not going to be playing Max Crosby a couple times a year. He's not going to be playing Myles Garrett. I think he would have been good as a backup there. I just don't see what Tua brings as a backup.
That's really genius, Alex. That's actually genius. I don't know why they wouldn't do something like that either. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. Like, especially if you want Michael Penix to be your next guy, right? Tua, while I think is kind of more open to being a backup now. I think he's still closer to wanting to be a starting quarterback in this league, right?
Mhm.
And that would create conflict with, Michael Penix Jr., who is supposed to be your next franchise guy. But like you mentioned, bringing in a Joe Flacco who's literally just there for the check and the vibes. This is my job. I'm showing up. It's just job Joe, right? Like that's him at this stage in his career, and he can provide you that stability. And like you mentioned, you don't have to rush back Michael Penix Jr. because Joe is going to hold the float steady, right? He's going to hold the boat steady afloat, at least for long enough, with Bijan Robinson. I mean, we're talking about this is one of the best running backs Joe Flacco would have ever worked with. He's coming off of working with one of the best receivers, but what do you got for me?
Drake London.
And Drake
I,
London, yeah.
Joe Flacco loves a tight end. Kyle Pitts, who had a much better year last year. I don't
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I think that would have been perfect. On the topic though of the Falcons, I think the Cardinals made a great signing. Tyler Algier, 2 years, 12 mil. I think that is a great signing for them. I think he did great things behind Bijan. I think he'll get a chance to be maybe their number one. I liked him a lot. I liked him with the Falcons.
Yeah. And this honestly is a lot better for Bijan Robinson fantasy owners, especially you dynasty owners and stuff, or just bet on him because he is going to get all of the workload next year. And I think he's really going to kind of distance himself. If not already, I think Bijan Robinson is the best running back in the National Football League. That's just me. But now I'm really going to see him distance himself as exactly that. But definitely Tyler Algier is a great shot for him in Arizona. Arizona is obviously building from the ground up themselves. Like we mentioned on the last episode of the show, releasing Kyler Murray. And I don't think that they picked up anybody today, right, Alex? At quarterback, right? I don't think so.
So they're going with Jacoby Brissett, and they signed what's his name, Gardner Minshew.
Oh, that's right. I did hear about Minshew. But that's not. Come on, right? Like,
Yeah,
what are we doing?
yeah.
Jacoby
Like,
Brissett or Gardner Minshew? Like, these aren't you move forward with, right?
and you're in a division with the reigning Super Bowl champions, a team that
Yep.
was in the conference championship, and a team that just stacked up their secondary. Oh, by the way, still Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Blake Corum, and Kyron Williams. Oh, and Matt Stafford. And then you have these Niners who get beat with I words, but they're somehow always contending. It feels like. And then you have the Cardinals. Marvin Harrison Jr., my good friend. Do you really want to stay?
Mm.
Do you really want to stay in Arizona? Or would you want to come over and don the purple and black for a couple of years and just see how maybe it feels like with a couple of more wins under your belt?
I don't know, Alex. I mean, okay, I feel like we got Marvin Harrison Jr. at home. I
Oh,
do.
oh, you,
There's a guy who goes by the name of Tez Walker,
oh,
who I personally feel like is a viable deep threat, right? And if given more opportunities, as what the third or fourth pass catcher that defenses are going to have to, worry about, I think we can definitely see him kind of provide some of that similar spark that we would get from somebody like a Marvin Harrison Jr. This may sound crazy to say, but I think that, Tez Walker with more opportunities, he can score more touchdowns. He's going to be more productive. And I just hope Declan Doyle will look towards him, especially if we're getting rid of other guys, like Likely is no longer a pass catching option. We don't know who they're going to draft or anything like that. That should like low key position Tez Walker up the totem pole, even if by just a little bit,
yeah.
to get some more opportunities here. So,
I mean, fourth down, first drive of the Steeler game last year, touchdown on like a 4th and 5. Tez Walker found him.
yeah,
Good point.
I mean, I could see it. Go ahead.
Black Daniel says Sutton said you got McDonald's money. He basically we're not getting. He said no Chipotle for you. He said no Chipotle.
Nah, man. I just, it sounds good though. It sounds good to Marvin Harrison. But who
I
else you
just
car for me, Alex?
just the
What's up?
Cardinals teams like that. It's like there's very little future there. So just I wonder what their thought process is. Let me see. What else do we have? We talked about Jalen Phillips. Let's go here. Um, Boy Mafe, he went to the Bengals, edge rusher. Jalen Watson went to the Rams, so he'll be linked back up with Trent McDuffie. Kenneth Walker to the Chiefs. I think that takes him
That's
out of the
big.
Jeremiah Love. Yeah, I think it takes him out of the Jeremiah Love sweepstakes, which is kind of I'm happy about. I did not want to see him go to the Chiefs.
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick. I know we talked about the Giants a little bit earlier, but like with everything that they've got going next season, we're all talking about that offensive unit: Jackson Dart, Scatterboo, Neighbor, now Isaiah Likely, right? But their defense, especially their front seven is dangerous as well in its own right. Especially if they can retain a couple of guys. So, would you say over or under 10.5 wins next season for the New York Giants with John Harbaugh?
They got Tremaine Edmonds, correct. You are right. That's a good point. Under.
Yeah,
Under.
under.
Jackson Dart has got to protect himself. I like this kid. I like everything about him. I don't think Scatterbo lasts more than 5 years in this league. The way he runs is unhealthy. Like the whole that scares me. It's like somebody. I'm hoping Harbaugh is a guy that can be like, dude, like just calm down. Just have a longer career, not just this flashy stuff. Right? Just calm down. But I'm gonna go under. I'm gonna go maybe 8 or 9 wins.
That's interesting. Maybe I should have set the line just a little bit lower, just a
No,
little bit lower. So I think they only had like maybe like 4 or 5 wins this past season, Alex, something like that. I think it might have been. Oh man, I mean, I like the Giants' chances, especially in that division. I don't think that the Commanders are going to take us forward next year. I still think that maybe like a year or two away. Um, and then also with the Eagles, time will tell if the rest of what they got going on there with Jalen Hurts, the quarterback, if that starts to unravel, right? Because as of right now, we don't really know kind of like what the situation is going to be. Is Sirianni and all that good stuff, and the relationship of him and Jalen Hurts and whatever Jalen Hurts and the rest of the locker room. But maybe some of that trouble flares up next year, and we'll see the Giants kind of start to take over a little bit. The Cowboys, I think the Cowboys are still pretty good spot as well. They got to address some things in the draft, but I think the Giants could surprise some people next year. I do.
A single Dak Prescott. I mean, maybe he acts different. Has a good year. Not too sure. You got Eagles. I think they'll be all right. Kwame says the Eagles have to go and get Flacco. That's funny. For a first day, it was definitely interesting. I want to say. I guess I don't know if I've ever felt it because I was overstimulated the first hour of free agency because my phone kept going
Oh
off and I
yeah,
was trying to work, and my watch kept getting pinged, and I'm like, just kept on looking.
yeah, man.
That
It was
definitely.
crazy.
I guess that's what you call overstimulating. More to come. I guess more. There's a lot of good free agents left there. I actually pulled up the list pretty quick. Just some guys out there that have not been picked up. I know Ari posted it.
Yeah, I just saw that one.
Yep, Trey Hendrickson, Devin Lloyd, who was a very good linebacker, Tariq Woolen, Rasheed Walker, Chigo Conquo, Romeo Doubs, Kevin Byard, Nashawn Wright, Kelevion Chason, great season last year. Elijah Vera Tucker, I know he was linked with us. Chris Paul, the guard, Kyler Murray, Taylor Decker, Braden Smith, Calvin Austin, Debo Samuel, Dewan Jennings, Wyatt Teller, Jaquan Brisker, Caden Ellis, Leo Chanel, Dallas Goddard, Rashad White, Stephon Diggs. Lots of guys out there.
Yeah, and so with lots of out there, certainly lots of moves left to be made, which we will be covering here, of course, on the Purple Rain Podcast YouTube channel. Big shout out to everybody who's come out to this episode. Was it 386 of the show? As we have over 500 people watching live throughout all of our platforms here. Shout out to you guys for coming through to this episode of the show. I think that's about it. I think we got through pretty much everything. We got pretty much everything on this one.
Yeah, an hour and 40 minutes. Probably one of our longest
Yeah, I think we got through everything.
non-football episodes in a while, or non-draft episodes. So my voice is
that's
going.
how it goes.
I don't know about yours, Sutton, but definitely been a good show. Sutton
Yeah,
here.
for sure.
Oh no, Sutton might not be here. Oh, okay. Oh, he's here. All right, there we go. You're
Am
back.
I here?
You're here.
Okay, cool. All right. But yeah, it's been a great episode. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new here to PRP. We appreciate that. And with that being said, I'm gonna let my guy Alex take us out of this one.
Yeah, an hour and 40 minutes. Wow. 100 minutes spent with us here at the Purple Rain Podcast. Thank you very much. We love you. We appreciate you. And as always, stay positive and test negative.
Yes. And never, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. Episode 380 PRP. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.